The children of Israel died in the wilderness because they doubted God. I believe that there are some things that God has shown and told you, but because you don't have all the answers, you refuse to go forward. I look here. One of the biggest blessings my dad ever did for me was not tell me where we was going or what we was doing. He just didn't tell me. He never. To this day, I can't think of a time where I got in the car with my dad and I knew the final destination, what we were going to do. Dad, where we going? Boy, shut up and ride. Dad, where you going? Crazy. Leave me alone. I was older till I figured out when I asked him where's he going. He said crazy. It finally dawned on me. I was driving him crazy. And even now, so when my kids come, when they get in the car with me, and it's a toss-up. It's a 50-50. We can go somewhere that they like, or we can go somewhere that they don't like. And sometimes they take the gamble, sometimes they don't. But what they've come to understand is that when they gamble and it works out for their good, and they get to come home and show their brothers or their sisters what they received as a result of trusting in me, that the benefits outweigh what could have been. And these men were sitting here, as they're sitting outside the gate, they could have despaired. They could have said, here we are lepers, being kicked out the camp. Nobody wants us in the camp. The enemies are coming up against us. And since they starving on the outside, they don't even have anything to give to us in our current situation. They could have despaired. They could have doubted. But instead, they did something. Do y'all understand that whenever I see a squirrel that's dead in the middle of the road, that's where indecision lives. That we have to be willing to do something. That we have to move from despair, and I get that. We might feel that way a little bit, but we've got to move from despair. And I get that we might doubt a little bit, but we've got to move from doubt, and we need to get to that place where we are willing to do something. That I've got to come to the realization that I am tired of my current circumstance. I know that there are other people telling me what can't happen, what can't be done, what can't take place, all the reasons that I shouldn't, why I shouldn't believe, why I shouldn't trust God, why I can't make it past my family history, what everybody else in my family has done, what people that look like me are supposed to be, what people that act like me what they're supposed to be, what people that come from where I come from, why we can't get to certain places. But every now and then, there needs to be somebody that says, I'm going to do something. You ain't the first person been in a bad spot. You ain't the first person that's going through something. Y'all, we got to do something. And this is my thing. I refuse to die in doubt when there's options on the table, and even when none of them look good, we're going to do something. God puts us in positions where we got to do something. When we purchased this building, all I heard was, man, you can't do it. It's a bad idea. I said, I know it's a bad idea, but what else we going to do? The bank going to put us out if we don't buy it. You can't go to a school. I'm looking back now, I'm glad we didn't go to a school, because when they closed the schools down, the Lord was saying, see, that's what I was protecting you from. Do y'all understand that the inability to make a decision will kill you? And do you realize there's always going to be voices in the room that will try to discourage you or feed you their despair, but you got to make up in your mind that it is time for us to do something. Y'all, too many people, too many of us, we missed it. And I'm not saying, I don't say it in the sense that we, in the ultimate sense, but we have. Y'all, there are times where we've missed God. Amen. And I know that's kind of a misnomer. I know you can't, but if we just tell the truth, there were times when God was troubling the water and we didn't step in. Whether it was fear, whether it was doubt, whether it was because I couldn't see it, I couldn't figure it out, whether it was because I didn't have all the answers. And y'all, if you're like me, that's why when people say, you get you out a sheet of paper and write out all the things, the good and the bad. And like you said, the pros and the cons. But let me tell you the problem I have with that. There have been several decisions where I've had a list full of cons, and the only pro I had was God said. And too many times, I've been like the 10 spies, and I came back and I said, God, I know this is what you say, but I can't see it. God, this is too much for me to handle. God, I know this is what you say, but God, I don't understand how the ends are going to meet. God, I know this is what you say, but God, this doesn't fit my 5-year plan or my itinerary. God, this doesn't make sense to my prayer partner. God, this doesn't make sense to those around me. But God, I know what you say, but I just can't do it, Lord. And we sit there. We will sit outside the gate, dying slowly, because we too scared to like my man Young MC said, to bust the move. That while you're praying to God, God has been waiting on you. While you're asking God to move, God is simply saying, I need you to take a step of faith in the right direction. And what God says, he says, the more you walk, the more I will reveal. But the problem is, we want God to reveal, but we won't walk, we won't move, we won't trust, we won't pray, we won't go in the direction that he's calling us to go in. And all I'm saying, even if you got to do is scared, do something. I made up in my mind a long time ago. I refuse to sit stagnant when I know I got a God that is full of limitless possibilities. When it dawned in my head that my God stepped in a fiery furnace and he sucked all the heat out of there, and that they had a praise party in the fiery furnace, when it dawned in my head that my God went down in a lion's den and caused Daniel to sleep on the back of a lion, when it dawned in my head that my God gave Peter the supernatural ability to walk on water, even if it was just one step, when that dawned in my head, I said, God, anywhere you call me, I'll go. Anywhere you lead me, I'll follow. Any promise you give, I don't care how hard it is, God, I'm going to hold on to it. We got to do something. And all I'm saying is, church, we got to do something. All I'm saying right now in your spiritual walk, you got to do something. You don't just sit stagnant. You know, anything that sits too long, it expires. It stagnates. It gets moldy. It gets useless. A faith that is not used ain't a faith worth having.